Who am I? The eternal question. A question we ask daily, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. But I guess you take care of the days and the years take care of themselves, right? Who am I? It's the most important question. Um, I was just thinking about this morning. The idea of um, those who do not remember their history are forced to repeat it, that sort of thing, that sort of idea. And I was thinking, you don't really need to know all the details of the history. But what you need to know is you need to understand yourself. You either remember the specific conditions, the patterns, the details, the sequences, so you can, if you spot those again, you can raise the alarm or something. Hey, I remember my past, and you know what? This pattern played out before, right before it got really ugly. Alarm, alarm. What good is that doing? People are doing that all over the place, saying, hey, wait a minute. The authoritarian moment is happening. It's happening. What do we do? Alarm. But nobody knows what to do about it because that's not the important thing. And you know what? You don't even have to be paying attention to things like that if we understood ourselves, if we knew who we were, if we understood how. So, I into this discussion, I personally bring a certain set of pet things that the idea of our design, the idea of the matrix, the idea of how unified physics slash source energy works, sacred geometry and all of that. What are the building blocks of reality, the way actual, real physical physics works relative to who we are and everything around us so that we can do everything that we need to do to survive forever. Things like we need to understand um, source energy so that we can plug directly into source energy. I have absolute faith that there is a way to do that. Now, I don't know exactly how to do it, but there is a way to tap directly into source energy because source energy is a kind of energy it's practically infinite and it's absolutely everywhere. There's no place that source energy is hotter than anywhere else. There are places where it is more organized. The black hole sitting at the center of the galaxy, for instance, that is, well, it's highly organized chaos, is what that is. Highly organized chaos. So, anyway, this is a terrific example of what I do. So, I have my set of pet ideas, but personally, I have come to believe that for each individual human being, and then for us collectively as our collective selves, there is nothing for us to understand more important than our own emotional guidance system. What is our emotional guidance system? Our God given, source connected emotional guidance system. And how does it work? And how does an understanding of how this guidance system works, how does that lead us to all the understandings we need to build the world we want to build with ourselves as cooperative components to exactly what we want to build. Do you know how to do that? Oh man, we're going to get to all of this. It's going to be so exciting. By the end of it, we're going to understand how to create the world we want and how to understand this field of potential order and chaos that is around us, how to understand the object of the exercise for humanity itself so that we can um, build. Oh, so what is this emotional guidance system? If we understood this one thing, we could hit synchronicity. That's how cool this one understanding would be. And then once you understand this emotional guidance system of yours, let go and let God, let go in faith, let go of the oars, understand that there is a bigger pattern around you that will catch you. It will catch you, but you've got to understand how it works. And you've got to understand who you are and add it all together. And for your own life, you can start untangling the chaos and start ordering the field around you, both in the small ways in your personal life, as you desire. There's all kinds of order around you that you would prefer, orderly as opposed to chaotic. Everyone has those preferences. But we are a collective being. And so we can't leave anybody out. Um, when but you actually don't have to worry about that. Nobody has to think about any of those things if they would but truly understand and work their own emotional guidance system. Your emotional guidance system is a perfect system for your own personal order, helping you to tap into exactly what you would like, what you would prefer. Well, a lot of what's getting in our way as human beings has to do with our analytical mind. Of course it does. Of course it does. Our analytical mind, it it is evaluating the whole field, um, regardless of positive and negative. It is adding all the positive and negative in, and within the negative in your analytical mind is woven in all the things that you do not prefer. As you are looking at it, going, this is reality, you're misunderstanding the object of the exercise and the way your configuration works. You can't weave the negative in. The negative goes off to the side in a different place as you acknowledge those things that you do not prefer, the things that you don't like, the rape, the pillage, the murder, the inefficiencies, the chaos, the disorder. You have to focus on order. Focus on the order that you prefer and try in a way to completely ignore the disorder. However, you don't need to see it's so funny. You see the universe in whole cloth and yet do not see the objects around you in whole cloth. See them in aspects. And from that perspective now, as you walk through life, when you still look at the person in front of you, the chaotic person in front of you, but you aren't looking at their chaos. You are looking at their order. You are looking at who they really are. Um, so if they happen to be your child not doing so well, Part of you can see that they are not doing so well and acknowledges it, is not pushing against it, completely understands it, but is not focusing on it. And so the fact that they are not doing well in this moment, you file in a completely different pocket. Now you are looking at them at who they really are, their eternal, loving, wise, ordered, source based self that they want to be in physicality, that they are in spirituality at all times. Your spiritual self, we are not physical beings having a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings having a physical, or is it the other way around? We are, you can actually, both of them are true, but you have to twist it in your mind so that everything is true in a sense. So find the sense that it is. And you can say both of those things, they sound opposite, but when you find the sense, you can see how both of them are true. But I digress. What is your emotional guidance system? Why is it so freaking important? And how do I operate it? And how is our understanding or not understanding of this operating system, how is it affecting us collectively, politically, economically, socially, socioeconomically, sociopolitically, all of that. All of those are big fancy words for how we relate to one another, how we are collectively. And we are millions. We are millions, people. So it doesn't make practical sense to have when I relate to the rest of the field, I'm not relating to every single one of you, at least not not physically. But that is how we can get hot on the internet, and all of a sudden, the whole world goes, "Wow, this chick is onto something." I guess that could happen. But I didn't relate to every one of the people who hit stuff. Anyway, it's a beautiful time we live in. Let's get back to the actual subject. What is my emotional guidance system? What? I have an emotional guidance system that has been given to me by my creators. Actually, it is a combination of what has been given to you by your creators and what has been given to us by the creator. You know, it's a combination of both of those things. To be a human being is a very special thing. It's also a very dangerous thing. It's an epic thing. It's mythologically cataclysmic in its ferocity, in its possibility. And I, instead of being overwhelmed by the horror and brought to my knees by the things that I cannot fix directly, through my life, my attention has drifted over to this other place where, as I look at the world, I realize how cool it is and what the possibilities are. Um, the biggest problem has been to get me to focus on exactly the peanut of this, the aspect that is going to take us from chaos to coherence. An understanding which is going to help bring us out of the darkness. Acknowledge the darkness on the one hand. Yeah, we've got problems, people. And I'm going to take 2 minutes right here at almost 15 minutes in. We're going to take just a couple of minutes and we are going to acknowledge that humanity has problems. But we're not going to let these problems take us to our knees in any way. Uh, It is helpful at some time. If you have not already done so, if you have already done so, you don't need to keep doing this. You don't need to keep doing it. You have to hit your step one moment, but you don't need to rub your nose in it. Have you cried for the sixth mass extinction? Have you cried for orphaned elephants and drowning polar bears? Have you wept for, you know, the destruction of the rainforest or the disruption of ecosystems across the planet that humanity has been causing? Do you realize that we are a pestilence onto planet Earth as a species? Collectively, we are. Now, individually, I try not to be, but you know what? Anybody who participates in, the Western lifestyle to some extent is a pestilence. Us with our fossil fuels and the way. But you know what? I don't believe that. We are not a pestilence. What it is, we haven't found ourselves yet. And one of the biggest things about, and I have a hard time keeping my focus on the bad things. I didn't actually finish. There's war. Just in case we start getting the other thing turned around, there is authoritarian psychosis. There is the phenomenon of democracies devolving into autocracies, into oligarchies, into plutocracies, into we do not want a society that is um, 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 what is even the word? Rule by the rich. We do not want to be ruled by the rich. The problem is that the rich have all the money. And we need systems of a way to channel the money into systems of construction where what we are constructing is uh, a good thing to construct. So we can collectively get together and the government bureaucracies try to order the systems, build the roads and all the systems. What are all the systems? We could write all those down. Actually, I keep digressing. I have a hard time focusing on the bad things because ultimately there are so many wonderful things to talk about that will lead us right out of what the problem is. I'm air quoting the problem as I fly past that word. We do have problems, people, but the the momentum of the positive, all the positive information, as it it so outweighs the negative, even though the negative, actually, there's a very compelling place where the negative is. And the compelling place lies in the actual your compassion to the physical suffering of billions of us, billions of us, billions of us. Not just billions of humans, but all of the non humans. When Australia burned, oh my God, OMG, if you were in that area, when that happened, what the thing is so what am I trying to get at is the problems that we have, um, they go along with step one moments, which has to do with places in your heart where you have felt the pain. Where have you felt the pain? Have you had a hard time adequately housing and feeding your child the way you want to feed it your child the way can you imagine if you had no money for groceries? Now, some of you can imagine that while at the same time you bought a coffee at Starbucks this morning, so you aren't necessarily optimizing your grocery funds. But I also believe that we're designed, collectively, we're designed in a really cool way. I would like to get this discussion to the point where we are talking about how we relate to one another and what our desires are and how your desires are blessed. But you have to get to the place where you are fully plugged into source energy, where you aren't going negative anymore. You aren't knee jerking to a negative anything because you are resting in faith and you understand who you are and you are operating your machinery optimally and you are consciously plugging yourself into the field around you in a modular fashion, and you are now flowing synchronistically with the field around you. Who around us could say that we are in any kind of state like that? I mean, I understand the concept, and I would like us all to get there, including myself. But even I can't raise my hand. And I understand the concept because we haven't laid the field out. We haven't, as soon as more and more of us get better at understanding our physical design, and on the one hand, understanding, while on the one hand, there are conditions that we do not prefer, that has nothing to do with my positive or negative energy. It has nothing to do with who I am. I am the formless. There are two main aspects to this physics, to the universe, to the experience of the universe. There are two main aspects. They're like flip sides of the same coin, and they both matter. They both they're equal. Actually, one is primary. The vibration is primary. The vibration is the one that generates the other one. The vibration generates the form, and the vibration is formless. And I am the formless. Now, I also am the form. I am because I am two things. I am the formless who has brought this form into being. And so I am both things, but who I really am, who I mystically, my inner self, my inner being, my eternal self, my cosmic self, my pure positive self, my loving heart self, my absolute liquid love connected to all things self. That one is formless. I am the formless. And as the formless, nothing can touch me. And so this little exercise that I personally, little analytical me, that I pretty much never identify, who am I? I have a, a stage name, Amelie Starchild, Mama Amelie, Mama Amelie Starchild. She is a wisdom teacher. She is a physical being. She was born at exactly the same time. Well, I don't know. It's a persona, obviously. But then I am this other thing. And as this other thing, as my inner being, when you start identifying with your inner being and recognizing that there are two of you in there, and your inner being is the aspect of you, so she joins you or you join her or whatever. It's like your physical mind. My religion made a big deal out of free agency, what this free agency thing was, your free agency. Well, the big deal about your free agency is that within your physical mind you can choose to think 360 degrees, any direction you want to go. Foolishness, wisdom, truth, silliness, serious, playful. You can turn any direction and any frequency. Your physical mind can go that way, whether it's true or whether it's not. And there's something really special about your analytical mind. Whatever way it chooses, it has the power of like fully committing and doing a really good job of doing the math, the direction you've chosen. And the universe is so reflective that if you commit to it, the universe will reflect it right back to you. So you might decide that it's a universe of competition. The physical universe of the human being is hard, it's rough, we're not kind to one another. We back in the olden days, it was really tough. And you pretty much had to follow very specific rules in order for you to have a place at the trough. And the rest of humanity very much frowned on anybody stepping out, coloring outside the lines. And we decide who we are. We are not homosexual. We are focusing on the white factor. And women have no say. Our fashion looks like this, everybody's hair has to look, everybody's hair has to be curly, or everybody's hair has to be short, or there were rules about fashions, the way stockings, the way buckles, the way, and the parameters were actually pretty small. And it's funny, as we started tracking history, that's when we start noticing, oh, wow, look at us. And we were adamant every step of the way. We're adamant. But look at the difference between, 100, 150 years down the road, our adamance is now adamantly something else. And we start scratching our heads and going, wow, look at what we're doing. Look at what we're doing. Look at what we're doing every so many number of years. How the autocracy, we call it, so we didn't call it autocracy when we rebelled against it as Americans, when we shook off the yoke of King George and fought for the revolution, fought for America, fought to be free to think the way we like and order ourselves the way we please. Well, now we are America and we are falling into autocracy, and we have a president who might as well be a freaking king. What he is allowed to do, and traditionally kings take all kinds of gifts from other countries. So who are we? What have we done here? Half of us want to hate him because we think he's responsible. He is not responsible. He's a freaking baby man. He's a baby man. He's a baby king. He doesn't even speak in full sentences. He's a force of nature somehow. There is something energetically extremely powerful about him, or he wouldn't be able to do what he has done. He's an organization of chaos, is what he is, though. He's an organization of the dark side. The dark side, meaning, as a matter of fact, look at his picture. His Jedi picture isn't a Jedi at all. He's not a Jedi. He's a Sith Lord. He has gone over to the dark side. And we need to understand ourselves. We need to understand this, mythologically speaking. We need to understand who we are and how these energies work, and these energies that you can see in yourself, both individually and then conceptually. You can turn around and look at it in the big frame cast it out to who we are and see it mythologically and go, oh my God, that is it. Loki energy. Do you see it? Do you see the Shiva? Do you see the demonic and what the religions are yammering about? They're not wrong. They're just not seeing it wholly. They're not seeing it collectively. They're not seeing the whole picture. Isn't it funny that the churches are not seeing it wholly? They're seeing it HOLY, but they're not seeing it WHOLEY. Who am I? Who are we? And what are the energies at play, at work? Well, and so this circles us back around to the question of the day. Of course, it's always the question of every day, who am I? And it has to do with our own personal emotional guidance system and what your actual work in your life, the only thing that you should ever do that you could call work, has to do with focus, and it has to do with working your way up the emotional guidance scale. And as you work your way up the emotional guidance scale, the natural impulses that you will start to feel about how to move, how to live your life, what to do, what thoughts drop in, what you'd start rendezvousing with, let all that be natural. Let go and let God do that. Your work is to work your way up the emotional guidance scale, because what that actually is the process of getting your two selves to be in the goddamn same vicinity as each other. Oh, I probably shouldn't have used the profanity right there, but we have to get our two selves to be sitting down at the same table. Invite your inner being into your analytical mind. Invite your inner being into the workings of your analytical mind. That's another way to say exactly the same thing. Alignment, alignment, alignment is the name of the game. And what do you accomplish through alignment? Higher frequencies, for crying out loud, because it's all about the frequency. It's all about the frequency. What frequency are you in? Are you in the frequencies of compassion, love, joy, freedom, abundance, or are you in the constricted frequencies of frustration, aggravation? Are you inflamed, or are you at peace? Can you feel that difference? You know, which one are you? Are you feeling, can you see the light of love and hope and isness? Or do you see a combination in your personal life, in your personal religion, perhaps in your family, and with your God? You're all square with that. You see the hope, you see the joy, you see the deep meaning. But when you turn around and look at your people, you shake your head and you go, man, there's a lot of mean out there. There's a lot of chaos and disorder. There's a lot of Loki and Shiva going on out there. We need to understand these energies, people, and quit taking them so personally. Although you do have you are responsible for your own demon, and everybody's got one. Some people call it a shadow. There's a lot of ways people talk about this. The dark side. What is the dark side of ourselves? It is misalignment. Misalignment. Although, um, To say misalignment implies that if you are in any state of negative emotion, that you have done anything wrong. You haven't actually done anything wrong, but if you're chronically over there hanging out, staring at something negative, and you cannot find your way back to joy because you are made for joy, that means that you're you're misoperating your equipment, and your misoperated equipment has kind of gone off into a ditch, as misoperated equipment can do, and it is like over in the ditch. But that's not really, you shouldn't blame yourself or beat yourself up for that. As a matter of fact, the more you do that, the more in the ditch you are. That's why I bring that up. Don't do that, because to beat yourself up for being negative is to go negative, to go more negative in response to being negative, which, as you can imagine, is a vicious circle. It's a vicious circle. You don't want a vicious circle. You want a circle that goes the other way, that is not vicious, but is life affirming, and get the organizational circle going the other direction. By the end of all of this, all of us are going to be minding our language. I'm not saying minding it so that you change it, but just note how many times the English language uses circular expressions and analogies and um, figures of speech and such, because the universe is spinning. It is, the whole thing is spinning. And so there's a lot of circular expressions in our talk. Since there wasn't a specific one there, that was probably a silly place for me to bring that up. But we will be noticing this. Uh, so, what is our emotional guidance system? You are two selves, first of all. Did you know that? You are two selves. They are both selves. And both, I keep, I think that I might be making loud cracking noises as I beat my table. And I shouldn't do that, because I am doing a recording here. So I should, like hit my lap or something if I really want to emphasize something. I have a ring on my finger too, which probably makes a real loud cracking noise when I clack that on the table. Forgive me, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So there's a lot to this teaching, and it goes all the way from, you know, understanding the matrix, the divine matrix that we are embedded in order to understand the form and the formless, and the very nature of sacred geometry, and the black hole structure all the way up and all the way down, and how the glue that holds us all together is not only gravity, but it's love, and love and gravity are actually different aspects of the same force. They are the same force. Ultimately, it is source energy working at different levels, at the biological level, at the human level, at the intergalactic level. It's all love, it's all gravity. All of that, we can plug our civilization into source energy and get away from fossil fuels, and that way our carbon footprint no longer becomes even a thing. It's not even a thing anymore. Nobody has to worry about it. And we have so much energy that we can easily recycle all the damage that we have done. We can cast our loving, wise gaze upon the planet and help create abundance for ourselves and all of the rest of life. I think that all of that is going to be a direct consequence of us understanding who we are. We are source energy more than we are these small selves that we think we are more. We think we're the small self more because it is all you can see. It's the physical body. I was born on a certain day and my parents named me, and I live for, however many years, 100 or thereabouts, give or take a decade or two. Uh, you're going to live about, I'm going to live 100 years. And it's all you see. It's the only part of my mind that I have any control or any direct control over. It's the part that hurts. It's the part that where all my senses are located. So why wouldn't I overly focus on that aspect of myself? But the funny thing is it's not even mostly you. And the reason that the other part of you is more you than this you is, they're both you and they're both right here, right now with you. But the way I think about it, I think of the source aspect of you is more you because it's always you. It's always you. This you is only temporarily me. I am only temporarily this person who calls herself Amelie Starchild, Mama Amelie. Mama Amelie will only be here for another 40 years or so. I will live to be past 100. It is my determination. I want very much to live past 100. I want to see the world. I want to show others strength in my age. The older I get, I have something that I can do here that I wasn't really all that great at doing when I was younger. But I can be the coolest old person on the block as I more and more allow whoever it is that I authentically am to come out. And I have no idea where she's going to end up. No idea at all, but I can hardly wait to see what she comes up with because she is allowing the shit out of shit. Poorly said. The shit out of shit. Anyway, who am I? Who am I? And what is this emotional guidance system? Because that's the most important thing. That is the most important thing. Learn what it is and learn how to stay in the upper registry. When you can do it consciously. And when you understand why you're trying to do it consciously and you give up on, you might have had an old belief like, I have to experience as much negative emotion as positive emotion in order to, well, but see, it goes one, it maybe it is true. Oh, actually, it is true. But you've already experienced the negative emotion. You don't have to keep experience. You don't have to keep wallowing in the step one. Once you hit that step one, once your soul has cried out to the cosmos, you have created now an incredible escrow of positive emotion, an incredible escrow of positive emotion that you can go and wallow in for 20 or 30 lifetimes, and all of the conditions that will spring from your wallowing in that positive emotion. Maybe that's what it is. People who believe that the positive and the negative, they have to agree. It's cosmically somehow they fit together. And that may be true, but I'll tell you what, the escrow of humanity's, all of the positive that that she has not experienced yet from all of the centuries of agony that we have cried out to the universe. We have a vortex of positivity that we have created through our step one that is waiting for us to just harvest, experience, be. Uh, I, what are the words? I understand why Abraham has a hard time. So what does Abraham do? Abraham gets Esther into a place of pure positive thought where all is perfect and well and vibrational, and from a position of everything is always working out for you, now explain the world. Well, human beings can do this too. All human beings can do this. It's really interesting how Esther got her origination story is pretty danged amazing. My origination story is not nearly as dramatic as that. She was yanked as a full adult in a way um, into Abraham by Abraham started moving her nose in the shape of letters that started giving her words, sentences, messages. And then she was able to meditate her way into this teaching that she teaches over there about your emotional guidance system and your vortex of creation and the eternally expanding and evolving universe and who you are in that, what your inner being is, what source energy is. She has her own way of, and she stays in her little zone. She doesn't describe it in any other way, and she doesn't, wax into this integration factor that, which is basically what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add it all up and then come to a greater clarity about who who we are as human beings, and what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of our experience? Each and every one of us individually, and then us collectively. Who are we? And what does it mean to be a human being? It's coming up in in our politics, you know, as our current administration gets to decide these days what it means to be a worthwhile human being and what to do with you if you are not a worthwhile human being. There is now a global prison system that you can be thrown into and disappear into forevermore. And that's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. And we need to, um, but the way to get past that is to truly understand who we really, really are. We've got to own our king. We've got to own him. We are a schizophrenic society. We claim a. I remember when I was young, we used to do a Pledge of Allegiance. I don't know who does the Pledge of Allegiance anymore and what on earth they would be pledging to. The Pledge of Allegiance is actually a pretty cool thing. Let's see if I can remember what it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Now, this is the important part coming up. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, if I have to take an oath like that, I could take an oath like that, and then I would just have to softly stay in a place where I could feel like I could move in, oh man, our complex world makes hypocrites out of us, as we want to follow the goodness, but then it all gets so complicated. I think I want to take it back to the fundamental. And fundamentally, we cannot throw anybody away. We cannot throw anybody away. What would throwing anybody away look like? Execution is one way of throwing somebody away. Putting them into a really, really mean, super, super, super mean place would be another. The place where when any love or order or organization or humanity, wherever it starts to grow anywhere, there's enough mean and disorder and demonic Loki and Shiva right there in the neighborhood to crush it like a that's what mean is. That's what mean is. And in an environment like that, coherence cannot grow. Love cannot grow because anytime it does, the Loki forces, the mean forces are stronger. If they are stronger, they will wipe out the loving forces of organization. So, who am I? Who am I? We're going to go back to the emotional guidance system. Anybody who already is a student of Abraham would probably more appreciate where I'm coming from because they already understand your emotional guidance system and they already understand the concept of the inner being and the eternally evolving, the expanding self. Everything is getting better, people. It is getting better. The only question is for human beings, can you keep the precious order going before the disorder blows the whole thing up? Now, the only reason that a thing like that would happen is if we don't understand what the order and the disorder is within the field of humanity. You have to start with the individual cell of humanity, which is a human being, and what is the configuration of a single human being. We are mighty, by the way. It's why we are so destructive upon this planet when we are not in alignment. But we are also natural creatures, except for the fact that we have been genetically modified, I believe. I believe that that is the reason why we are a little wonky upon the planet. I used to think that perhaps we were, you know how when you take a species out of where they evolved and put them into uh, a place where they haven't evolved, how they kind of don't quite fit and they become a pestilence like rabbits in Australia. They become a pestilence because they don't have a good there's not a good system of predation and they out anyway. I don't want to get into the specifics. They are a pestilence. Rabbits are a pestilence in Australia. I thought maybe that was why human beings were a problem on that because maybe we came from somewhere else. Maybe we are extraterrestrials, but when you examine our DNA, we actually match with the DNA of the planet for the most part. I think that we were just genetically modified. Now, some people claim that might be alien DNA in us. I have never seen any evidence of that. I have seen evidence of our genetic modification, and you can see it too. It's I'm going to put this up really quick over at pnas.org. PNAS.org is the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It is where the Academy of Science publishes their collective work, where each of the disciplines publish to their peers their work, and only their peers really understand it. It's so friggin' technical. But their peers habitually go through it, comb through it, look through it, because your career can be made by publishing. Your career can also be made by proving that you're something that somebody has like counter publishing. No, that's not true. This is actually true. Um, although I don't know how, I'm not sure exactly how that works. Does that make the other people have to take their work down? I think that's what happens. As so in the journal, so the stuff is not hasn't been challenged appropriately in the correct arena and knocked down. That's what it is. So here we have over there, there is an article. It was published back in 1991, and I'm going to show you the Greg Braden. Um, there's a slide from one of his things. This is what made me go look for it. As he's talking about human chromosome number 2, which is a fused chromosome. And, it's the relic of an ancient DNA fusion of two ancestral chromosomes. Modifications followed to stabilize the fusion. What it is on both, it's two lesser chromosomes fused together. And with redundancies on both sides clipped away so that the whole thing needs to stay together to stay whole. It can't just, and it's been bound telomere to telomere, that's the outsides. You would never find telomere on the inside of but there it is, right in the middle of the sequence with, basically they did the sequencing on this, human chromosome number 2, and this is what they've concluded. So I went and looked this up. It's actually not that hard to find. PNAS.org. It's open source. I was able to find it. Here it is. This is the title. It wasn't as easy to find by page number as Greg Braden made it look. I had to go to this volume, and there were 2 volumes in 1991. The one that it's in is the one that was published in October, not the one that was published in May or April. And I just went and looked title by title by title. It's the 40th one in. And did I just see the number 40? No, I didn't. Yeah, 40,000. Look at this. 40,000 people have viewed. Oh, actually, that was when I screenshot this one. I should go over there now and look and see how many thousands more have looked at this since I took this screenshot. People are looking at this. The full abstract. I'm going to show you the full abstract. It's even more interesting than Greg implies. The full abstract down here, look at the bottom, because it's a lot of geneticists talk as they talk about how they sequenced the gene, they dissected the whole thing. And what they conclude is that it's the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. So before the fusion, these were ape chromosomes. After the fusion, and it wasn't a long term, one can only imagine what could have caused this fusion. I cannot imagine how this fusion could have been caused by incremental um, uh, random Darwinian style processes of evolution. Something happened to fuse this, and what it created is the neocortex of the human being. This is what gives rise to the mind that challenges source mind. That's the 2 minds within us. And when within our human self, we let our minds go negative, that's when we are out of alignment with the source self, because source is not negative. Source has no reason to be negative. Source is here eternally and knows exactly what we're all about and is only looking at what is, and from the isness is calculating all of the fun possibilities that could happen. You know, all of the fun possibilities, all of the ways that everything could be better, all of the things that, how all of the things that have been asked for have been answered. That's, or could be made manifest. That's what Source is looking at. And that's why you want to train your own physical brain to think more in accordance with your source self, who is also looking at the exact same world that you are looking at. She's looking at the computer screen right along with you right in this moment. Looks like I have passed an hour. Oh, what a lovely hour I have had. I will come back and do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, I would like to talk about, I mean, it's always who am I, isn't it? Who am I as a human being? Who am I as an individual? But I'm going to be hammering on this. Who am I as what is my emotional guidance system? What what is the, because that is actually what alignment is. It's alignment, people. Alignment is the name of the game. If we can but align our small minds with our very own larger self, we ourselves would know exactly what to do in any given now. We could sync up with one another. We could make everything a better, more orderly place. We want order. I just don't want law. I want order. I want peace and order. I don't want law and order. I want peace and order. I want love and order. I want coherence and order. I want fun and order. I want freedom. I want freedom to be as orderly as I want. I want freedom to add to the mosaic that is humanity. I want us all to understand what our order and what our chaos is. And chaos is just us rebelling against an order that someone is trying to impose that we don't like. It's all about order and chaos. It's fundamentally about order and chaos. And we need to understand these concepts of order and chaos and spell them with a capital O and a capital K. So, anyway, we're past an hour, so we're going to have to tackle it again tomorrow. I may post this one actually. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever done. Until tomorrow, God bless. Do your best. Love yourself, love each other. You're doing very, very well. Um, if you have found my broadcast, I can only imagine the universe has you on a very unique course. I will catch you on the flip side and see you around the bend. And until then, may the source be with you.